Hi guys, I'm BC, and today we've got a story from Forest Hills, USA. It's a quiet neighborhood in Queens, New York, with a population of around 90,000 people. It's not too far from downtown New York, offering convenient transportation and connecting two famous parks, Flushing Meadows Park and Forest Park. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, you might know that Forest Hills is where the movie version of Spider-Man's home is located. However, in April 2022, the crime-fighting Spider-Man may have been too busy with movie shoots to prevent a heinous crime. On April 16, 2022, a Saturday morning, residents of New York City woke up to a refreshing day. It was just past 7 a.m. when Glenn, a resident of Forest Hills, was leisurely walking his dog on the street, enjoying his weekend. As he strolled past a street corner, he noticed his dog suddenly becoming alert, ears perked up, refusing to move forward. The dog growled at a black duffel bag by the roadside, and Glenn, curious, approached to investigate. He saw the black duffel bag oozing some red stains, and he thought someone had put a stray cat or dog's body inside it. Glenn decided to give it a nudge with his foot and discovered it was surprisingly heavy. To satisfy his curiosity, he unzipped the duffel bag, revealing a pair of pale human legs. At this point, Glenn was still in disbelief, thinking it was a mannequin. However, when he fully unzipped the duffel bag, he let out an expletive, realizing the shocking reality of a human body inside it. Startled and panicked, he immediately dialed 911. The police arrived at the scene around 8:11 and found a female corpse curled up inside a black hockey bag. After a forensic examination, it was revealed that the victim had multiple stab wounds on her neck, torso, and arms, totaling 58 injuries. Although the female victim had no identification on her, the police quickly found a lead. Due to the numerous cut arteries on the victim, blood had dripped onto the pavement. The police followed this blood trail along the sidewalk, which led them to a residence 2.7 miles away, 72 to 24, Juno Street. This was a $2.1 million three-story property owned by Howard Klein and his wife, Orsolya Gaal. The couple had been married for several years and had two children, 13-year-old Leo and 17-year-old Jamie. After multiple attempts to knock on the door with no response, officers decided to try the back door. There was still no sign of anyone. Considering that the blood trail on the sidewalk extends all the way to the outside of this house, the police suspected that the female victim was likely Orsolya, and the assailant might be inside the house. Following more unanswered door knocking, the police decided to enter forcibly. On the first floor near the basement entrance, they discovered a small amount of blood. The blood trail led into the basement. Once they entered the basement, the officers found more blood traces along with a kitchen knife. Since the doors and windows of the entire house were intact, with no theft of property, the police believed that the perpetrator might be someone she knew. Considering the 58 stab wounds inflicted on her, the assailant was likely driven by intense hatred. Meanwhile, another team of officers found 13-year-old Leo on the attic floor. He was in his pajamas, barefoot, appearing as if he had just woken up. Faced with police inquiries, Leo seemed bewildered, having no clue about what was happening. He explained that his dad, Howard, and his older brother, Jamie, had gone to Oregon together. His mother had gone to a concert the previous night, and since he had gone to bed early, he had no idea if she had returned home. NYPD officers brought Leo to the police station for questioning. However, a few hours later, they concluded that 13-year-old Leo had no involvement in his mother's demise. Simultaneously, forensic experts confirmed the victim's identity. She was none other than the lady of the house, 51-year-old Orsolya Gaal. Orsolya Gaal, born on September 12, 1970, in Austria, had a passion for music and a love for travel since childhood. In 1994, at the age of 23, Orsolya had just completed her international business management degree at Budapest Economic University in Hungary. At a local Christmas party, she met the promising young Howard. Howard, 25 at the time, was working at an investment bank in Budapest. Love blossomed between them instantly at the party, and they later embarked on a trip to Thailand together. When Howard decided to pursue his master's degree in finance at Columbia University, he invited Orsolya to come to the United States with him and proposed. Soon after arriving in New York, they got married, and they moved to Manhattan. There, Howard started a small financial consultancy firm. Orsolya directed most of her energy into their family. After the birth of their first child, Jamie, Orsolya left her job and became a full-time homemaker. 4 years later, their second child, Leo, was born. In over 20 years of marriage, the family of 4 enjoyed an enviable life. They frequently traveled together, exploring many European and Asian countries. In August 2012, the couple spent $1.67 million to purchase their spacious 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house in Forest Hills, Queens. In the eyes of friends and neighbors, the family was exceptionally amiable, never having any conflicts with anyone. Therefore, when the news of Orsolya's demise broke, it was a profound shock to everyone. Nearby neighbors couldn't believe that Orsolya, whom they had greeted the day before, had been placed in a duffel bag today. It was a scene straight out of a movie.
I was just shocked. Very shocked. I know her since they moved here because I'm here for 30 years. She was a lovely lady, always very attentive to her family, her kids. Just an amazing person, and she's going to be missed from all of us that knew her.
After interviewing neighbors in the vicinity, the officers received a crucial lead. A neighbor living opposite Orsolya's house revealed that their home security camera captured a bizarre scene on the day of the incident. It was Saturday, around 4:30 in the early morning, and the footage showed a man in black clothing under the dim streetlight. He was dragging a black duffel bag, matching the size and shape of the one discovered by the police. They suspected that the duffel bag contained Orsolya, making this mysterious man in black the prime suspect in the case. Subsequently, the police contacted the homeowner, Howard, and informed him of his wife Orsolya's tragic fate. At that moment, he was in Oregon with his 17-year-old son, Jamie, visiting nearby colleges in preparation for Jamie's future. Upon receiving the call from the officers, father and son immediately canceled their plans and took a flight back to New York. Howard and Jamie were in a state of profound shock upon hearing about Orsolya's sudden passing. By examining their cell phone location data and itinerary records, the police determined that, on the Saturday in question, at 1:36 a.m., Howard had sent a tweet using his phone with the location set as Portland, Oregon. Given that the distance between Portland and New York is approximately 2,800 miles, and a flight between the two locations takes at least 5 hours, the police concluded that Howard and Jamie were physically unable to commit the crime. Furthermore, Howard provided a crucial lead when he informed the police that, in the early hours of the crime's occurrence, he received a series of messages from his wife, Orsolya. The messages read as follows. "Your wife put me in jail many years ago, and now I'm back. Don't call the police, or I will kill your entire family. Your family is next." These messages appeared to be sent by the perpetrator after Orsolya's murder using her phone. The identity of this individual and the motive behind their actions remained a mystery. Typically, in cases of a wife's homicide, the husband is the primary suspect. Although the police explicitly stated that Howard was not a suspect in this case, there were still occasional accusations against him as his wife's killer. During the investigation, the media relentlessly tracked Howard's every move. One day, overwhelmed by the constant attention, Howard confronted a reporter and demanded answers.
Why are you photographing me? Why are you photographing me?
You're not taking my credentials.
Yeah, I want to see your credentials. I want to take pictures of your credentials.
You can see my credentials.
Yeah, no, I want to take pictures of them. Okay. Okay,
No,
what are you doing?
no,
What are you doing? What are you doing?
You can't touch me.
Why are you invading my
If you
privacy?
touch me, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay.
If you touch me, I'm gonna call the police.
I'd like to know your name.
My name is Robert.
Despite having surveillance footage and phone messages as leads, the investigation saw no significant breakthrough. By reaching out to Orsolya's family and friends, the police were able to piece together her movements on the day of the incident. The day before the crime, on Friday, April 15, 2022, Orsolya had told her son that she planned to attend an opera performance at the Lincoln Center with some friends that evening. However, upon examining Orsolya's phone call records, the police discovered an undisclosed aspect of Orsolya's life, unknown to most. While she did indeed go to the Lincoln Center to watch the opera, she was also communicating with 3 different men through her phone during the performance, none of whom were her husband, Howard. To respect Orsolya's privacy, the specific contents of these messages have not been disclosed. After watching the opera, Orsolya took a train back to her residence in Forest Hills, arriving around 11:30 p.m. Instead of returning home right away, she stopped at a local bar she frequented, the Station House. There, Orsolya ordered her usual Moscow Mule and sat alone in a corner, savoring her drink. The bartender at the Station House stated that Orsolya left around 12:20 a.m. on that Saturday, and there was nothing unusual about her departure. The police believe that, roughly 10 minutes later, at 12:30 a.m., Orsolya opened the door for the assailant, or the assailant entered her house using a hidden key near the backyard barbecue grill. This indicated that the perpetrator and Orsolya were acquainted, and their relationship was very close. Once inside the residence, they proceeded to the basement, where a confrontation erupted. Subsequently, the assailant used a kitchen knife to attack Orsolya, leading to her immediate demise. In an attempt to mislead the police, the perpetrator sent messages from Orsolya's phone to Howard. Later, the assailant placed Orsolya's lifeless body into the luggage bag. At approximately 4:30 a.m., he departed the scene, dragging the bag for over an hour until he reached a location near Forest Park. When the area was devoid of witnesses, the assailant discarded the luggage bag. The police conducted an extensive search of Forest Park around the vicinity of the bag and found a blood-stained jacket. Upon examination, the blood on the jacket was identified as Orsolya's, leading the police to deduce that the assailant had disposed of it in the park after discarding the bag. In their quest for new leads, the police began an in-depth investigation into the 3 men, whom Orsolya had been in contact with during the opera performance. One of these individuals caught their attention. He was a former handyman at Orsolya's residence. The police recalled a note on Orsolya's refrigerator which read, "Find a new handyman." Why was Orsolya searching for a new handyman, and had there been issues with the previous one? Following the lead regarding the handyman, the police discovered that 2 years prior to the incident, Orsolya's family had employed a local handyman to fix their air conditioning. This man was a 44-year-old named David Bonola, originally from Mexico. He had entered the United States by illegal immigration in 2001 and had resided in the country for over 20 years. In 2022, for undisclosed reasons, David separated from his wife and 2 children, living alone in Richmond Hill, Queens, which is only a 12-minute drive from Orsolya's residence. By analyzing Orsolya's phone messages and call records, the police found that, over the past 2 years, David, under the guise of air conditioning repairs, had climbed into Orsolya's bed and engaged in physical relations with her. He left comments on Orsolya's pictures on social media platforms like Facebook, expressing his admiration for her in Spanish. Their inappropriate relationship had been on and off multiple times over the course of 2 years, characterized by entanglements and complications. The last time Orsolya broke up with David was 2 weeks before the incident. By checking David's records at the police station, law enforcement discovered that this guy is far from a good person. He had been reported several times for harassing and stalking women. A female barista at Starbucks reported that David would spend hours in the coffee shop, sipping coffee and commenting on the female staff, primarily waitresses. Notably, he did more than just talk. He would leave affectionate notes on the female employees' receipts, followed by secretly tracking them when they left work at night. He had proposed marriage to at least 2 Starbucks employees, leaving the young women deeply unsettled. Fed up with his behavior, these women had reported him multiple times, but each time the police arrived, David had already settled his bill and departed. The police, through surveillance video in David's neighborhood, discovered that at 6:05 a.m. on the Saturday of the incident, David walked rapidly to his apartment wearing a black mask. This timing aligned with him leaving Orsolya's residence at 4:30 a.m., then disposing of her body near Forest Park, and subsequently returning to his place. Notably, in the surveillance footage, David's left hand was visibly injured and wrapped in thick bandages. Following an inquiry at local clinics, the police confirmed that David had visited a clinic called City MD, where a doctor treated multiple deep cuts on his hand. The doctor had issued a referral for David to seek further treatment at a nearby hospital to prevent infection. While David was a significant suspect in the case, he was not immediately apprehended. The police applied for a search warrant while closely monitoring him. 3 days after the incident, on April 19, which was the designated garbage collection day in David's neighborhood, undercover officers had been surveilling the area. They intercepted the garbage truck after it collected David's trash. Subsequently, several officers sifted through the refuse, and successfully recovered a pair of brown work boots stained with blood as well as several white trash bags. After confirming that the blood on the boots matched Orsolya through testing, they found a red-stained short-sleeved shirt and bandages David used to tend to his wounds in the white bags. On the following day, April 20th, a large number of officers, armed with a search warrant, surrounded David's apartment. Even before the police could initiate the search, David voluntarily approached a police car and informed the officers on duty, "I heard you were looking for me." The NYPD officers immediately provided David with a white jacket and took him into custody for questioning. Media reporters from various outlets acted quickly, capturing his arrest from start to finish.
What happened, David?
Facing the police interrogation, David soon revealed the sequence of events. He claimed that he had been secretly involved with Orsolya for over 2 years, characterized by an on-and-off relationship. In early April, Orsolya had once more proposed ending their clandestine liaison, a suggestion to which David did not agree. On April 16, to salvage his relationship with Orsolya, he entered her residence around 12:30 a.m., trying to persuade her to reconsider. David's unanticipated visit left Orsolya deeply dissatisfied, primarily due to her 13-year-old son Leo being in the house at the time. To keep her secret hidden from her child, Orsolya brought David into the basement for negotiation. A heated argument erupted between the two, with Orsolya remaining steadfast in her decision to part ways with David. Frustrated and humiliated, David proceeded to the kitchen upstairs and retrieved a knife, which he then used to attack Orsolya. Subsequently, he grabbed Orsolya's phone and sent a series of threatening messages to Howard, believing that this would divert the police's investigative focus. In Orsolya's home, David discovered Leo's hockey bag and stuffed Orsolya inside. He then dragged Orsolya's lifeless body all the way to the nearby forest park. David's account of this version of the crime was mostly consistent with the police's previous assumptions. However, on the following day, David suddenly recanted his previous statements and presented a second version of the story. This time, he claimed that his visit to Orsolya's home was not about salvaging their relationship but that he had discovered Orsolya had transmitted HIV to him. He went to Orsolya's home to confront her. An argument erupted in the basement, where Orsolya grabbed a knife from the kitchen, threatening to kill David. According to David, he acted in self-defense, compelled to snatch the knife from Orsolya to protect himself. However, the police did not believe David's second account. In April 2022, the prosecution charged David with second-degree murder, which he vehemently denied. 7 months later, on November 2, 2022, upon the advice of his lawyer, David reluctantly agreed to a plea deal with the prosecution. The charges against him were reduced from second-degree murder to first-degree manslaughter. On November 16, 2022, a judge sentenced 44-year-old David to 25 years in prison. In interviews with the media, prosecutor Melinda said that although the prosecution had sufficient evidence and was very confident about getting a harsher punishment for David, both Orsolya's family and David's family expressed a desire to move on from this tragedy, allowing life to continue. Consequently, the police ultimately chose to compromise.
Has this case been any different than any of the other horrific cases that your office has had to deal with?
Every homicide is horrific, and every homicide affects a family deeply. So no, this is not different in that way. I think the interesting part about this is that on the manslaughter one, the victim pleaded to the top count. He's getting the maximum amount of sentence for the manslaughter, and so in that respect, it is a just result.
With this, Orsolya's story came to an end. After the case was resolved, many internet users shifted their focus from David to Orsolya. They criticized Orsolya, blaming her for her indiscretions in her affair, suggesting that her actions led to the tragic outcome. While it is true that Orsolya played a role in the events, in many cases, marital and family issues are not as straightforward as they may appear. As the victim in this incident, people should perhaps show more compassion toward her. After all, it was David, the perpetrator, who deserves condemnation and disdain. What are your thoughts on this case, on Orsolya and David? Feel free to share your opinions below. Lastly, remember to take care of yourselves, and see you next episode.